You know that feeling when you finally decide to put yourself out there and suddenly you feel super exposed and vulnerable to judgment? Climbing Cringe Mountain is what happens when you step outside your comfort zone and risk other people's judgment. But what if climbing Cringe Mountain was actually the only way to grow and find your people? Today we're talking about why that cringe feeling is a sign you're on the right path and how to keep climbing even when every step feels like an invitation to self-doubt.
Welcome to the Gen XZ Exchange. I'm Chris Perkins, Gen X parent, now 50-something empty nester with a fair few professional ups and downs under my belt.
And I'm Lily Perkins, Gen Z career explorer, here to learn some shortcuts from my dad while teaching him a few things. We swap insights on career choices, work and life in general.
So whether you're a Gen X parent trying to figure out midlife's challenges,
or a Gen Z young professional or student figuring out adulthood, you're in the right place.
So when you first mentioned this as a topic, Lily, I'd never heard of it before. So tell us a bit about what climbing Cringe Mountain is.
Yeah, so in my experience, my friend's experience, I think a lot of it revolves around social media. Obviously, we all grew up on social media, and I think you kind of constantly feel like you're being watched and judged online. So for people my age, I know a lot of people trying to promote their businesses and their work online, or some people even just giving content creation a go. And this whole concept of climbing Cringe Mountain, it's just about letting go of the fear of putting yourself in the public eye, basically being exposed to other people's judgment. So I'm interested to know what it would look like for you, because I don't think you've got many pals who are making vlogs and day in the lives on TikTok and stuff. So what's your kind of understanding of it? What would be the context for you?
Yeah, like I said, I had not heard of it until you kind of raised it as a topic that we could talk about. And I started thinking about cringy things that I remember from when I was kind of your age.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one that came to mind, which is still out there on YouTube, was probably the cringiest thing I can remember, was all the Microsoft execs dancing at the launch of Windows 95. They'd signed up the Rolling Stones track Start Me Up because Windows 95 had the start button, and someone said it will look really cool if you all dance on stage to show how excited you are about this. So it's Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer, various other Microsoft execs, and you can see they are demonstrating very well. They have never danced very much at all, if ever, before that point. The only one who really pulls it off is Steve Ballmer, because he really commits. He really goes for it, and he actually looks like he's having a good time.
Yeah, you've got to commit to the bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The others just look like they did not want to be there. So that was probably the cringiest moment I can remember.
Can tell when it's not coming from someone's soul, when it's not authentic. Good for him for just going, okay, here's my dance move.
Yeah, he really went for it.
Nice.
And then, as you do, you kind of stumble down a rabbit hole, and I came across all of this Gen X Rise stuff. I mean, as you know, I'm not on TikTok, but for the Gen Xers that are, they seem to have this beef with Gen Z, and we're doing all this crazy Gen X Rise stuff, which to me looked really cringy.
Ridiculous, yeah. That's good that you can recognise it. At least you're not hopping on TikTok and making a video of your own, because that would be really difficult for me to cope with my cringe levels.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not going anywhere near TikTok anytime soon. I would say my generational take on the social media platforms is Gen X seem to now kind of control Facebook, or the majority of people on Facebook, and Gen Z are controlling TikTok. And obviously there's a bit of crossover. But what I really loved about that stuff was how Gen Z mock things that they don't take very seriously, and some of the comments on the Gen X Rise posts were just fabulous, like Gen X Rise slowly off the couch. And in response to all the Gen Xers talking about we ride at dawn, Gen Z was saying, where? To the chiropractor?
It's very nonchalant, unbothered.
Absolutely, yeah. So obviously not fazed by it at all. And then just starting to take the mickey out of Gen X and all the various technological challenges we have. Gen X versus Facebook password, and Gen X versus slide to unlock. And that just made me laugh.
It was like a big wind up, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyways, so cringing and embarrassment, feelings of shame, all that stuff is a natural reaction to seeing your own mistakes or awkwardness. It's basically your brain's way of saying like, oh, I don't really like how that social interaction went. I didn't really like how I was dancing when I was really pushed last night. You know, let's learn from that. Let's do better next time. So it does serve a purpose, but also being too ashamed of your mistakes or having too much fear about being perceived in a certain negative light can make you doubt yourself and avoid risks in future, which ultimately kind of stunts your personal growth.
Yeah, I think one of the things I found really interesting was this idea of your social self-monitoring,
Hmm.
your brain's filter for social appropriateness and identity. And obviously,
Yeah.
if people are doing things outside the comfort zone, whether that's posting more on social media or, networking, looking for a job, all of that kind of stuff, your brain is trying to not put you in fearful situations. I think
Yeah.
it's always monitoring for that. And whilst the term is new, Cringe Mountain, I could really relate to it in terms of something called the spotlight effect, which I had heard of before, which is this idea that we think when we're walking down the street, there is a giant spotlight shining just on us, and everyone is looking at us and is concerned about us and is noticing, any slip-ups or mistakes. And we tend to massively overestimate how much everyone else is really interested in what we're doing, because they've all
Yeah.
got their own stuff going on. They all feel the
Yes.
spotlight is on them.
100%.
And if you can put yourself out there thinking, well, not many people are really going to see it, and those that do probably don't care that much,
Yeah.
I'm just going to go for it. That's a good way of approaching it.
It'll be an evolutionary thing as well about wanting to fit in, like have your own tribe. And people, like you say, generally want to avoid being in situations that make them feel fearful and embarrassed and shameful. And in opposition to the spotlight effect, do you know the expression sonder?
No.
I don't know the exact definition. It's something about the feeling of realizing everyone around you has a life just as complicated as yours is. They all have stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically like the opposite of the spotlight effect. It's that realization that actually I'm not the only person on earth and everyone's concerned with themselves more than they are with me. Feeling cringe, feeling embarrassed often marks a growth edge, which is where you're stepping outside of your comfort zone and learning, basically. So, the concept of climbing Cringe Mountain, like I say, I first heard about it on TikTok, and it can feel like a pretty brutal uphill battle. I think, especially like if you aren't getting great engagement on your posts when you first start out. Addison Rae, have you heard of her, the TikToker?
No.
She was like a massive TikToker, like kind of 2020, more recently, kind of like 5 years from when I remember her being really big on TikTok. She's now just released her debut album, and I think it will have had like millions of streams already. I listened to it, I thought it was great, no skips. And she seems to be on her way to becoming a bit of a pop sensation. But she did a podcast last week or something where she was saying at one point she was posting like 7 to 10 like dancing videos on TikTok a day, like just spamming her account, learning these dances, posting them, doing all the hashtags, using the trending sounds. And she said this was basically her just trying to get seen so she could build up a following and actually follow her real dreams outside of doing TikTok dances. She recognized, I'm going to have to get engagement. I'm going to have to put myself out there. She said, can't remember the exact quote, but she was like, I'm not going to let being cringe hold me back from doing what I have to do, basically.
Cool. So now that's happening. As a result of her posting all the dance videos and stuff, she's starting to get some momentum.
Yeah, well, this was like years ago. She was doing these dance videos. She built up a huge following, and now everyone's talking about her rebrand. Some people are like, oh, it's inauthentic. Like, I remember when she was doing these videos and all the rest of it. So that was kind of her response to people kind of hating on her rebrand, because she was like, well, I was just doing what I had to do. I was climbing Cringe Mountain, and now it's put me in the position where I'm like able to have this rebrand and actually chase my real dreams. Because if you do a deep dive on any cool celebrity, you're going to find them like musicians, they had bad mixtapes out on SoundCloud or crazy photo shoots that their management at the time told them to do. Literally everyone has a cringe journey, a cringe path up Cringe Mountain.
Yeah, I think what I was really interested to find out was this idea that if you picture a mountain,
Mm-hmm.
the people that are climbing Cringe Mountain, putting themselves out there,
Hmm.
are gradually climbing away from the people at Basecamp, I think it was termed.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And the other side of the peak of the mountain is what people were calling the land of cool.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you've done your research. Well
Yeah,
done.
yeah, because I was interested in finding out
That's
more.
good. I don't have to school you on anything. Good
And
job.
the people who are climbing Cringe Mountain
Hmm.
are never going to get hated on by anyone from the land of cool because they've gone through that journey and
Hmm.
they respect you for doing it. All
Yeah.
the haters are the people at base camp,
Hmm.
and they are probably resentful that you're kind of doing your own thing and they're
They're
trying to
projecting.
drag you back down.
Yeah.
So if you're making the climb and you want to get to the land of cool, all the people already there are cheering you on and hoping you make the climb successfully.
Yeah, because
And it's
they've
the
done it.
people back at base camp that have a problem with it. So I guess the thing is just don't look back. Don't look
Mhm.
back at them. Don't look behind you. Just keep climbing. You get to the land of cool too, which sounds like a cool place to be.
We need to play Miley Cyrus. She was onto something. And it's funny, this reminds me of what you're saying about the people in Land of Cool. Listen to Miley Cyrus and do the climb.
I saw people talking about the climber's mindset.
Hmm.
Is that kind of what that is? That you just have to do this. It is going to be a bit
Persevere.
arduous. You
Yeah.
might get people hating on you, but you've got to kind of stay positive. Is that what the climber's mindset is?
I think so. I think where it probably gets tricky for some people is it's like when they feel like they've been climbing for ages and ages and ages and maybe not seeing the full fruits of their labor yet. But I think it is just about perseverance. Like there's this one girl on Instagram I follow who makes amazing content. Her name's Axa. And yeah, she's a Glasgow based influencer girly. She's just hit 20K and she has gaining a following, but also like for her content, I'm like, this is not the following she should be at. She works so hard, takes really cool pictures, edits them really cool. And I've seen her post a couple of times, like her frustration, because she's like, I feel like I'm not getting to where I need to be. And I even think for that girl, if she keeps climbing, she will absolutely get to where she wants to be because her stuff is too good for it to go unnoticed. And I think Addison Rae, who I was talking about earlier on, it might be her that I'm thinking of, who said something about all it takes is like one video to be noticed, and then that's you. Oh my God, there's a Lady Gaga quote where she's like, there could be 100 people in a room and it just takes one person to notice you. And that's basically it. So I think that probably is the whole climber's mindset thing about not giving up. There's probably some guidance out there about when to call it quits, but I don't think that means going back down to base camp. I think maybe it means like navigating up a separate trail. So maybe you've found out this type of content isn't working for me, but let me look at my engagement stats and see what actually is, and maybe I can do a little pivot. So
Yeah,
maybe
just got to keep
knowing where to
testing.
pivot. Yeah,
Testing and
exactly.
experimenting. Yeah, I think that kind of mindset is getting comfortable with the fact that it's not a reason not to start. The
Yeah,
climb might get really tough, but you've just got to look at, well, what else can you try? Do something
yeah.
different, find a different route. If you're letting the cringe hold you back and that actually leads to avoidance and
Mhm.
missing out on opportunities, playing it safe, never taking risks, you're stuck down at base camp where everyone else is. And everyone
Mhm.
else would love to be in the land of cool, but the only way to get there is to kind of put yourself out.
Yeah.
And I guess there's also a risk that you can stagnate if you're
Mhm.
not growing, if you're too busy and you just want to kind of avoid the cringe because you don't want the discomfort, the possible embarrassment, you're stagnating, you're not progressing, you're not growing. And I suppose people could also be held back because of perfectionism. You
Definitely.
just think I have to make everything perfect before I can put it out there.
Mhm.
And then get really worked up about, the slightest thing that's not right. But actually, I think what people want to see is kind of real life, real
Yeah.
people, that it's not all perfectly curated.
I'm definitely a bit guilty of the perfectionism kind of trap in a lot of stuff that I do. Like if I try something new and I'm not perfect at it straight away, I can get a bit like, or I'm just gonna sack this off now, even if I had fun.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that I'm definitely trying to work out of my system because it's fine.
Good.
You need to give yourself permission to not be good at stuff, especially when you've just started out, and just enjoy the process. But yeah, what about you? Is there any kind of, do you feel the constraints of climbing Cringe Mountain in any way?
Yeah, even though I didn't know what it was at the time, I can say kind of on a climb right now. And like what you were saying relates back to what we've said in previous episodes about having unrealistic expectations and how unhelpful
Yeah.
that can be when you're starting out with something. So the beginning of the year, I started to post more consistently on LinkedIn. By and large, it's been going well,
Yeah.
but it takes a while to get some momentum. And I could really relate to this in terms of some things I've posted, which I've thought about not posting. And one that
Yeah.
comes to mind in particular from a while ago was an unboxing video. We get
I
sent a
loved
little
your
thing.
unboxing video. I loved it. And loads of people loved it. It did great.
At the time when I was editing that,
Mhm.
I was thinking, this is rubbish. No one is going to want to see this.
No.
Like, what's the point? And just did it anyway. That was one of my top performing posts in
Yeah.
terms of engagement
It was
and
so nice. I
impressions.
loved how real it was. And I
Oh,
loved
thank
that
you.
you got given, it was a little, was it a little bike?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
get sent a little
And
bite.
it had the beautiful and I just thought it was such a lovely video and I think you
Yeah.
did a great job. And I remember texting you being like, Dad, oh my God, you're an influencer. Well done.
Oh, thank you. And I think that might now become an annual thing because Randstad send them every year. So it was cool to get that reaction to something I thought was really cringy and
Yeah.
like who is going to be interested in this.
Did you feel a bit like as a Gen Xer, did you maybe have a bit of imposter syndrome, feeling a bit like, oh, this is like a pure Gen Z thing, like unboxing and stuff? Like, am I being silly in that sense? Because I remember you did it. I was like, oh my God, how does he even know about unboxing videos? I doubted you, but you did a really good job.
Charlie's done unboxing videos. I
Yeah.
think that's where I'd heard about them, new iPhone and all of that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, as
New
where I'd
vinyl.
seen unboxing videos. So I thought I would do it a bit sarcastically, but genuinely, I hadn't seen the bike until I'd opened that package.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my natural reaction. And yeah, it got a really good response. And then more recently, there was another one. I was posting something about trees. And was thinking, like, is anyone really going to read this? Like, this is just weird. But that got another good response. So
Yeah.
I do lean more towards the kind of avoidance, but have started to learn that just go for it. Right? Post something.
What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah, like, it won't get many impressions or much engagement, but then you just move on to something else.
Yeah, exactly.
So, for anyone thinking about maybe they've been holding back, avoiding posting or avoiding doing something different that's a bit out of the comfort zone, what would you suggest, Lily, in terms of how they might approach it differently?
So I think, like with you, with your unboxing video, for example, being able to reframe the feelings of like cringing and embarrassment and like, oh, am I kind of doing something that people are going to laugh at here? Am I an imposter? Being able to reframe that as proof of progress, like you stepped out of your comfort zone, you tried something challenging and new, that's worth celebrating. Even if your post hadn't gotten much engagement, you could have still said that was fun to make. That was something a bit different. That was a new experience.
Yeah, it reminds me of a really big personal development book in the 80s and 90s called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it was exactly that. Just go for it. And I think what we've been talking about is a form of imposter syndrome, which we spoke about on a previous episode. If you feel like a fraud or you feel that, you don't deserve any success,
not
but
good
actually
in the
just
world.
go for it.
Yeah. I think people, like we said about the whole spotlight effect thing, all that good stuff, is people are usually far too busy worrying about themselves to remember anything you've done that's cringe. And I think as well, shout out to Grandma for her life advice, because this kind of reminds me of Grandma's expression, learn the lesson, forget the experience. So even if you do push the boat out a little bit and you maybe don't get the result that you want, being able to kind of note that awkward moment, note how you felt about it, maybe like even keeping kind of a journal of things that kind of trigger those feelings, but being able to go, okay, like I learned that that type of thing didn't work for me. How can I pivot? How can I continue climbing upwards? Learn the lesson, forget the experience. And I think also it's kind of like a form of exposure therapy. I think if you don't ruminate over it and beat yourself up, but also if you can think about it and just deconstruct it, break it down into pros and cons, it kind of desensitizes you to the cringe feelings, like wearing the feeling out by actually just sitting with it and thinking about it and noticing how the world kept spinning when your post flopped, or the world kept spinning when, your piece of art that you tried to sell didn't sell, whatever. The world kept spinning. It's fine. No one laughed at you. There wasn't any Facebook group set up to like troll you. It was all good. And then just practicing basic kind of self-compassion. the way you would talk to your friend if they tried something new. You would give them a pat on the back and be
Yeah.
like, okay, well, you put yourself out there and you give it a go. So I think having that same level of compassion for yourself and understanding that you were just trying something new, no big deal,
Hmm.
that's a good thing to do as well, good practice to get into. And then the last thing that I can think of now, anyways, is just about kind of celebrating small wins. Every time you cringe, it's a step up Cringe Mountain towards growth, one step closer to the land of cool. And I think just being able to, like I say, give yourself a pat on the back as you would give a friend if they tried something new, that's important. And it kind of reinforces in your brain that it's not something to be afraid of. And actually, you're doing a good job. So having a little celebration.
Absolutely. I have a really inspiring example, actually, of someone you can see climbing Cringe Mountain
Hmm.
right in front of you and getting to the land of cool. It's someone called Megan Washington. She gave a TEDx talk in Sydney, and she's an incredible singer, but she has a really severe stutter.
Hmm.
And she comes on stage and talks about her stutter, and you can see her stuttering
Yeah.
and just totally faces down her fears,
Wow.
even though it's quite cringy, and I think the audience is kind of cringing with
For
her
her,
with
yeah.
how difficult it is for her to speak.
Yeah.
And then she sings, and it's amazing. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes. Well worth a watch if you want an example of someone who is putting themselves out there and just going for it. She is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, Lily. So what would you say to start to kind of wrap this up?
I would say a lot of the time, in my experience and my friend's experience, I think why we can be so afraid of judgment is because, like we've said all through this episode, we think other people are going to be holding us to the same crazy standards that we hold ourselves to. But obviously, in reality, no one is actually that bothered. And the biggest haters are usually just projecting from Basecamp, like we've said. And it's a lot easier to label someone else's cringe when you see them trying something new than to actually put yourself in their shoes and do that yourself. And ultimately, people are going to talk shit about you regardless. And if they're going to do it anyways, why not give whatever you're trying to do a go? What is the worst thing that could happen? You know, it's hardly like archaeologists 500 years from now are going to dig up your TikTok videos, your day in the life, your outfit of the days, and put them in some kind of cringe museum. I think just trying to take that spotlight off of yourself that isn't even there, chill out, no one's bothered.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That kind of puts things in perspective.
Real talk.
Yeah.
Post the video, post the unboxing, be silly. Is there anything that you've taken away from this conversation? Anything new? Anything you learned?
Overall, I think it was a good reminder of that feel the fear and do it anyway
Yeah.
idea. I read that book years and years ago, and
Hmm.
that's a good thing to bear in mind if you're trying to, grow, do something different. And the other thing from what I'd looked into around kind of Cringe Mountain is this idea that everyone in the land of cool is willing you on and they want you to succeed.
Yeah.
The haters are all the people stuck back at Basecamp who, as you said, are probably a bit resentful.
Yeah.
So don't pay any attention to them. Keep following where all the cheering is coming from the land of cool, the other side of the peak of the mountain.
Yeah.
And you get there, it's a cool place to be.
Yeah. Yeah, we would know. Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, some people might say this is kind of cringy, but here we are, putting
No.
ourselves out there.
Well, I don't care. I'm higher up on the mountain. Sorry, haters.
So what about you, though? What's like the biggest thing you take from this?
You impressed me with the fact that you did research on the TikTok beef with the different
Trying
generations.
to learn more about Gen Z, see?
But I liked it. It was a nice conversation. It was nice to reinforce what you were saying about base camp. I don't know, even day to day, if I put on an outfit that's a little bit different, I can be like, oh my God, everyone's going to think I'm a crazy person. But literally, no one cares. I can't remember any of my friends' crazy outfits, all this stuff. So it's just nice to reinforce that the spotlight is not there. And actually, we are a lot freer than we think. As Charlie said in our quiz episodes, to be cringe is to be free, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Everyone else is taken.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There we go. The catchphrase. That's like a live, laugh, love. The new.
Yeah, I didn't invent that. I can't remember who said that, but yeah, it's a thing. So if you've enjoyed our chat, It would really help us get things off to a good start if you can give us a follow and a 5-star rating on your podcast app. This is really important in the first few weeks of a new podcast as it helps it find its audience.
If you want to be really kind and get a gold star, if you want to write a review, that would be even better. And we would really appreciate it because, like my dad says, that just helps us out in the first few weeks. If you would like to connect with us, follow us, you can find the links in the show notes as well. We've also got a cool new feature set up, so you can now speak to us. If you want to send us a wee message, your thoughts on the show, maybe an idea for a topic or a suggestion for a guest, you can use a thing we've set up called SpeakPipe. The link is in the show notes. Just click and record your little voice memo and send it to us.
So in the next episode, we're going to be talking about, is it time to leave the country? Particularly amongst Lily's generation, there are a lot of people talking about emigrating for a variety of reasons. With everything that's going on at the moment, would we be better off living somewhere other than the UK? That's what we're going to dig into. For now, thanks for listening to this episode of the Gen XZ Exchange.
Do, 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 do.
I'm going to keep that in one day.
Go for it. I'm going to get boosted up Cringe Mountain with my singing.
Yeah.
Well, it's the climb. Every step I'm making, every chance I'm taking, lost in no direction. Na, 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 na. That's all I know.
I haven't paused the recording yet.
Okay, good. Just turn it up. Cause I wanna keep on, gonna do my head held high.